A very warm welcome to all of you to the Indian Institute of Science. I'm, oh, sorry. I'm Niharika, and on behalf of the Bengaluru Science and Technology Cluster, an initiative under the aegis of the Office of Principal Scientific Advisor to the Government of India and the Bengaluru Apartment Federation, I'm delighted to welcome you to the second episode of our public talk series on the science for sustainable urban living. This series is a collaborative effort between BAF and the BEST cluster, where we explore the science behind pressing challenges that shape our everyday urban lives, and more importantly, the solutions that empower citizens to act. We extend our sincere gratitude to our sponsors, No Brokerhood, GenX, Eco STP, Boston, Green Environment, Metsi Enviro, and Unis Service for their valuable support and commitment to advancing sustainable urban practice. We also thank our supporting organization, Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore Political Action Committee, One India, Socrates, Daily Hunt, and Bengaluru Post for amplifying this initiative and supporting the larger conversation on sustainable urban living. Let me quickly walk you through the agenda for this afternoon. We begin with the welcome from 3:30 to 3:40 p.m., where we formally set the tone for today's session. This will be followed by the keynote address from 3:40 to 4 o'clock p.m., offering expert insights to frame the larger conversation on water security. This will be from 4 o'clock to 5:30 p.m. We move into the panel discussion and flash talks. Between 5:30 and 6 o'clock, we will have the Q&A session and the concluding remarks and closing announcements. And finally, from 6 o'clock onwards, we invite you all to stay back for the high tea and networking and take a look at the stalls and showcase, an opportunity to continue the dialogue, exchange ideas, and build meaningful collaboration. Resuming to the topic, after an engaging first episode on waste management, today we turn to another critical pillar of sustainable cities: water security, reuse, recharge, and resilience. Water is central to Bengaluru's story, from its historic lakes to its current water stresses. As a rapidly growing city, how we manage, conserve, reuse, and recharge our water resources will determine our resilience in the years ahead. In this session, we'll hear from experts who will help us understand the science behind urban water system, practical approaches to wastewater reuse, groundwater recharge strategies, and what communities and apartment complexes can realistically implement in their own spaces. This discussion is not just about understanding the problem, it's about enabling informed and collective action. I would like to call upon the dignitaries of today's session. Dr. Rajiv Kain, Chief Engineer, Bangalore Water Supply and Sewage Board. Mr. Yes Vishwanathan from the Rainwater Club, at the Director at Biome Environmental Solution. Professor Lakshmi Narayan Rao from Center for Sustainable Technologies at the Indian Institute of Science. Mr. Rajesh Rajamurthy from the Bangalore Apartments Federation. Ms. Gayatri Murlidharan, Deputy Head of the Water Program at Well Labs. To set the context for today's gathering, I would like to call upon Mr. Anantaraman, CEO of Bengaluru Science and Technology Cluster, and Mr. Satish Malya, President of Bengaluru Apartment Federation, to escort our chief guest, Mr. Mahesh, Director of MPRI, Government of Karnataka, to the stage. To formally set the tone for this important conversation, we will begin with introductory remarks from the leadership of the two organizations that have made this series possible. To set the context for today's gathering, it is my privilege to invite Anantaraman, CEO of the Bengaluru Science and Technology Cluster, to deliver his introductory remarks and help frame the significance of today's discussion on water security.
Thank you. Wonderful evening and good evening to all of you, and then good evening to all the dignitaries here. I, along with Mr. Satish, good friend from BAF, is very happy to invite you and for this important program. I would like to say something about BEST as a cluster because a lot of you are new. BEST is an initiative initiated by Office of PSA, that is Principal Scientific Advisor to Government of India, and jointly with the Indian Institute of Science. So we are placed in Institute of Science, Bengaluru, supported by leading institutions, research, industries, and host of other societal bodies there. What does BEST do? BEST connects the society to its problem, to the opportunities with the consortium, and see whether we can able to solve the problem within the innovations and the thought leadership available within the city. So we connect, enable the network to solve. So that way, one of the important problem is obviously last time, as we said, solid waste management. This time, water is a key problem we are facing as a city, and we are happy to bring in the cluster of thoughts here, which could probably pave a way to have some interesting and innovative solution to the city. And now we strongly believe, I think we have a very good thought leadership available in the city, which can potentially solve our own problem. That's what we talk about Atmanirbhata. And I think today's discussion will lead us to some kind of a highlight, some kind of a indicative directions which can be used further for solving this water crisis, water problem in the city. So that is the approach which we are taking, and we continue to do various efforts in various other fields also for the city of Bengaluru. So this is what the BEST cluster is all about, and we really sincerely thank you for your presence here, and I hope this session will be really productive, insightful, and probably it can be it can bring some kind of a directional results for the problem which we face. Thank you once again for all the dignitaries to come here, and I hope we have a great session today evening. Thank you very much for coming here also. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Following this, we will hear from Satish Malya, President of the Bangalore Apartment Federation, who will share his thoughts on the vision and the role of citizen communities in building a water-resilient Bengaluru.
Good evening, all. It's my privilege to welcome all of you and the distinguished panelists and guests with us today. I think we have a wonderful session going ahead. I think this is the second series of programs. The last time we had solid waste. And incidentally, today is the Science Day. I think we're also celebrating Science Day today. I think it's a coincidence that the water topic came today. I think, and next month, World Water Day. So looking forward to all the discussion today and from the panelists and a lot of questions from the audience. and looking forward for a great day today. Thank you.
Please note that Shri B.P. Ravi sir is unable to join us today. He has kindly nominated Mr. Mahesh to attend the session on his behalf. It now gives me pleasure to invite Mr. Mahesh, Director of Environmental Management and Policy Research Institute, Government of Karnataka, and former Chief Environment Officer at Karnataka State Pollution Control Board for the keynote address. With over 34 years of extensive experience in the enforcement of environmental regulations, Mr. Mahesh has worked across critical areas including environmental quality monitoring, environmental audits, and legal compliance. Since 2024, he has been serving as the director of EMPRI, where he oversees administration, finance, institutional projects, and studies, as well as capacity building initiatives aligned with the mandate of the institute. Over the course of his distinguished career, he has contributed significantly to the National River Conservation Plan, water quality monitoring and reporting systems, and the inspection and monitoring of domestic sewage and effluent treatment plants. He has also been actively involved in organizing training programs on the operation and maintenance of sewage treatment plants for plant operators and support staff, strengthening on ground implementation and compliance. With his vast field experience and regulatory insight, we look forward to hearing his perspective on strengthening urban water security.
Namaskara. Good afternoon to the honorable dignitaries on the dais, the panel members, experts, and also dignitaries of the dais. It gives me an immense pleasure to be a part of this program. As Madam has told, I was suddenly roped in. This program was supposed to be addressed by our Principal Chief Conservator of Forest, B.P. Ravi sir. Because of some emergency works, he was supposed to go out of Bangalore. So he called me, asked me to be here. That's why I am here actually. Otherwise, I associated with BEST. We have MOU with BEST. We are doing a lot of programs also with Bangalore Apartment Federation. So things are going on. Recently, we conducted conference in IASC campus itself for all the local bodies of the state. We have about 315 local bodies. In 2 batches, we conducted at Satish Dhawan Auditorium regarding circular economy and with respect to special focus on waste management. It's a very important area, and the state is going to come out with a policy on this circular economy with a special focus on waste management, involving various stakeholder departments like the urban development, rural development, Panchayat Raj, the industry department, the pollution control board, and also the Directorate of Municipal Administration and other expert institutions are going to frame this policy. Actually, we had one meeting at the state level. I was supposed to attend last week, but because of some work in Delhi, I was not able to attend. But then a meeting has taken place, and then they deliberated on that, and in the coming days, we are going to accelerate the work on framing policy for the state with respect to circular economy. Without taking much time, I don't have anything to say because all our experts here, we have Vishwanath, we have BWSSP Chief Engineer, Lakshmi Narayan is there, and then let us hear from them first. Okay, but then just to give a few points, what Environmental Management Policy Research Institute is doing. It is an institute under the Department of Forest Ecology and Environment, Government of Karnataka, formed in 2002 actually. We work on various environmental concurrent issues actually. The capacity building and training is one of the major area, and then undertaking policy research, and also undertaking various studies connected to environment, forest, wildlife actually. Just to name few studies, so one is this Bangalore Metro Rail Corporation study is going on actually. And one more is Ethanole, the water pumping project from Western Ghats to eastern part of the state. That monitoring work is going on. And then we have a state action plan for climate change has been approved by the Ministry of Environment and Forest, Government of India in 2024. It is being implemented in the state. It is for a period of 5 years. About 15 departments have given key performance indicators to address the climate issues based on the action points proposed in the action plan that has been taken up for implementation actually. And a dashboard has been developed to implement the state action plan. And one of the important sector in that is also this water. So water, I need not mention much about water because everybody knows India is water stress country. Even in IPCC report, first report also it has been mentioned, and then subsequent reports also reflects that water is going to be a very important challenge for the country, for the world. In fact, all the civilizations started on the banks of the river, as you know. And as you know, the civilizations also got destroyed for water over thousands of years, actually. But then now, if you just look at the industrialization, 1850 onwards, two important issues emerged. One is the pollution, another one is the climate change, actually. These two are in the center of our, the civilization, and unless until we address these two issues, we will not have future actually. Coming to India, in the year 1974, the Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act was introduced. Then onwards, the water quality is being monitored across this country actually. Almost all the major rivers and the tributaries are monitored in about 5,000 odd stations. And today we have a synthesis report about the water quality of the country, which clearly indicates that there are 351 polluted river stretches in the country. Almost all the rivers and major tributaries are polluted to an extent that which cannot be used actually. So 351 polluted river stretches. Coming to our own state, we have about 17 polluted river stretches. Take it Kaveri River or Krishna River, all these rivers are polluted. Again, they made a distinction, category A to category E. So in that actually, the rivers which has got BOD more than 30 is considered as a category A stretches actually. Fortunately, we don't have any such stretches in our state, but then we have stretches with BOD ranging from 5 to 15 milligram per liter, which is again a concern actually because of the developmental activities, expansion of cities and industrial growth, and improper management of the industrial and domestic wastewater has caused a severe stress on the water bodies. So there is an action plan to address these issues actually. Every state has come out with an action plan, whether it is Karnataka or Tamil Nadu in respect of Kaveri or other rivers in respect of other states. They have an action plan. We need to manage the solid waste. We need to manage the wastewater generated after its use, whether it is industrial or domestic. Unless until we address this issue holistically, we will not be able to maintain the water quality to the expected level actually. So that is the desired level. In fact, keeping that in background, the government is also serious about earmarking adequate funds to address the sewage, solid waste, and other waste connected under the Environment Protection Act. So, in our all reports, right from State of Environment Report 2004 onwards, you take, there is a report in 2004, and then there is a report regarding BMR region in 2008, 9, and then we have a State of Environment Report in 15, and then we have a Karnataka State Action Plan for Climate Change approved by Ministry in 2024. All these reports has got a chapter on the water resources, wherein the issues connected to demand and supply side has been clearly identified, and who is responsible, who has to address this, and what should be the strategy. All these issues have been dealt in this, Karnataka State Action Plan for Climate Change. Accordingly, the respective departments have been asked to come out with the key performance indicators. They are identifying the KPIs, and then based on the KPIs, these issues are tackled actually with some strategies. Without wasting much time, I just would like to, again, thank the organizers, BST and the Bangalore Apartment Federation. In fact, I have to mention the Bangalore Apartment Federation. When I was in Karnataka State Political Board, as you know, 20 units, for 20 units apartments, the STP was made mandatory. In fact, with the intervention of Bangalore Apartment Federation, with our, then Principal Secretary to Government Department of Ecology and Environment, Ravi sir, we had a close, meetings, and then finally that has been made very practical actually. Now it is applicable for 120 units with 80 KLD of sewage actually. Of course, that doesn't mean that, it has been relaxed. Wherever the purpose is to see that wherever the sewer lines are there of BWSSB, treated sewage should not be, let into it, so that it can be, collected and then reused. That is the idea behind it actually. The treated water cannot be again put into treatment actually, because a lot of money is wasted while treating itself. Again, you are draining out to the sewer system and then again treating. It causes huge exchequer to the not only state but also to the apartment owners actually. So keeping all these things, there was a policy change at that point of time, and then similarly usage of treated water. 100% was the requirement, even as per the NGT, Honorable NGT directions actually. That has been made practically possible actually, with 50% in-house use and 50% they can sell it to the party where there is a demand. We have seen Bosan Whitewater and all. In fact, we visited the facility of Bosan Whitewater, XGen, GenX facility also we have visited, and taken a practical aspect into consideration, and then that policy was revised at that point of time. Now at least with 50% demand outside, we can definitely enhance that demand actually for use in the secondary activities actually, for whether it is for industrial cooling, air conditioning, or for floor washing or car washing, or for gardening, whatever you name it actually, that can be used, and it can even brought down to 30% or 20% in the coming days. Of course, the exploitation of groundwater is another big area. In fact, our Vishwanath sir, in fact, is doing a great job in this area actually. We visited his initiative near Devanhalli also. I think in his panel discussion he will highlight about the measures adopted to supply fresh water to the households of Devanhalli town actually. So in the nutshell, I would like to say that it is not static actually. These initiatives, policy changes and the monitoring and evaluation framework should continue to evolve, and we should come out with a efficient management. Nowadays, a lot of startups are also roped in, and then they are doing a lot of work actually. So in that way, we need to progress, and we have to respect the nature-based solutions also, like Eco STP. You might have seen, now we have adopted that Eco STP in our own facility. In fact, Titan has supported that initiative, and then we established Eco STP in our own training and capacity building facility in Doresanipalia of Bangalore. So these things we can only address with combined efforts. That is the only thing I would like to say at the end. It is the institutions, it is the government, it is the researchers, it is the experts, and it is the the administrators. Everybody has to, and common man, everyone has to come together, because when we say water, again there is lot of things to be told to the consumers also, whether it is leakages, whether it is your excess consumption. All these things needs to be addressed holistically. For that, everybody has got a role to play. Legislation only can help you to address the issue to a limited extent. Unless until we don't have proper knowledge and skill to address the problem, definitely we will not be effectively addressing the issue in a holistic manner. With these few words, I thank the organizers for providing me an opportunity, and I wish all the best for this, the event, because such events are required to be conducted on a regular basis. Not only we should, keep this kind of events within four walls. We have to go out, also bring awareness. Then we have to also involve other stakeholders, so that everybody should be aware that water is not a freely available commodity. It has its own value, and we have to respect it. Thank you, one and all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I now request Mr. Anantaraman and Mr. Satish Malya to present the memento to the keynote speaker. May I now request the esteemed dignitaries to kindly take their seat in the audience as we proceed to the panel discussion. Bengaluru depends on a complex and energy-initiative water system, from distant river sources to local lakes and groundwater. Every day, millions of liters of water are supplied, consumed, treated, discharged, and in many cases lost. Apartment communities form a significant share of this urban demand. How we conserve water, reuse treated wastewater, recharge groundwater, maintain sewage treatment plants, and prevent contamination has direct implications for our lakes, aquifers, public health, urban resilience, and the sustainability of the city itself. Water security is no longer just a policy conversation. It is a shared civic responsibility. To commence the discussion, it is my pleasure to introduce our distinguished panel of speakers who bring together perspectives from government, research, community, leadership, and on-ground implementation. First, I would like to introduce Dr. Rajiv K.N., Chief Engineer at the Bangalore Water Supply and Sewage Board, the statutory authority responsible for the delivery of piped water supply and underground drainage service in Bengaluru. In his role as Chief Engineer, Dr. Rajiv plays a central in planning and executing key infrastructure investment that strengthen the city's water supply and sewage system. He brings deep technical experience and insightful and institutional insight to the challenge of urban water management in one of India's fast-growing cities. Dr. Rajiv's leadership in project implementation is vital as Bengaluru continues to expand its work of water sources, treatment facilities, distribution infrastructure, and renewal efforts. all critical components of achieving reliable and equitable water security for residents and communities. With his expertise in large-scale urban water infrastructure planning and delivery, we look forward to his perspectives on the science, challenges, and practical pathways towards resilient and sustainable water system for our city. We are also pleased to have Mr. Vishwanath S., founder of the Rainwater Club, director at Biome Environmental Solution, and trustee of the Biome Environmental Trust. Mr. Vishwanath is a nationally recognized advocate for sustainable water management and ecological sanitation. For over 2 decades, he has worked at the intersection of community action, policy engagement, and on ground implementation, championing rainwater harvesting, decentralized wastewater treatment, groundwater recharge, and sustainable urban design. Through the Rainwater Club, he has been instrumental in reviving traditional wisdom around water conservation and helping citizen, institution, and apartment communities adopt practical science-backed water solutions. His work with Biome focuses on designing and implementing environmentally responsible water and sanitation systems that are both technically sound and socially inclusive. With his deep experience in community-led water resilience and sustainable urban ecosystem, we look forward to his insights on how Bengaluru can move towards a more water-secure future. It is my privilege to introduce Professor Lakshmi Narayan Rao from the Center of Sustainable Technologies at the Indian Institute of Science, Bengaluru. Professor Rao has been closely associated with research and practice in sustainable water management, wastewater treatments, and environmentally responsible urban infrastructure. At the Center for Sustainable Technologies, his work focuses on developing science-based, decentralized, and context-appropriate solutions that address the pressing environmental challenge of rapidly growing cities. With deep academic expertise combined with practical engagement in sustainable technologies, Professor Rao brings an important research and innovation perspective to today's discussion on water security. It is my pleasure to introduce Mr. Rajesh Ramamurthy from Bangalore Apartment Federation. The Bangalore Apartment Federation represents numerous apartment associations across the city and plays an important role in strengthening community participation in urban governance. The Federation actively engages with civic agencies on issues such as water management, waste management, energy efficiency, and sustainable living practices within residential communities. Mr. Rajesh has been closely involved in working with apartment association to improve compliance, promote best practice, and encourage citizen-led solution, particularly in areas such as sewage treatment plants, water conservation, and responsible resource management. His perspective brings the crucial voice of resident communities into today's discussion on water security. Joining the panel is Ms. Gayatri Muralidharan, Deputy Head of the Urban Water Program at Well Labs. Well Labs is an interdisciplinary research and innovative organization working to improve water, sanitation, and public health system in rapidly urbanizing contexts. The organization focuses on generating rigorous data-driven insights that form policy, strengthen governance, and improve service delivery, particularly for vulnerable and undeserved communities. In her role, Ms. Gayatri works at the intersection of research, practice, and policy, contributing to the studies and programs that examine urban water access, infrastructure performance, and institutional accountability. Her work helped translate evidence into actionable strategies for building more equitable and resilient urban water system. Today, she is not only here to share her rich experience in the sector, but also to moderate our panel discussion. If the audience has any question for the panel, you may simply scan the QR code shown on the screen and post them anytime during the session. The question will be addressed during the Q&A segment at the end of the session. Our volunteers will be around to help you with that. Over to you, Ms. Gayatri.
We have to just move this chair here, so it's basic. And then we can remove one of these chairs.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm Gayatri, and thanks Bangalore Apartment Federation and Best Cluster for organizing this panel discussion. And I have been given the honor of moderating this evening's discussion. So today we are, standing at the eve of another summer in Bangalore. And this kind of brings a very familiar anxiety from the past couple of years. So we see, lake levels coming down, borewells drying up, water tanker prices going up and things like that. So while, the summer heat in Bangalore is kind of inevitable, but water scarcity necessarily need not be. So here in today's discussion, we are kind of going to shift the narrative a little bit from a very crisis-focused narrative towards what we can actually do working together to solve some of the challenges that we are facing today. And also look at solutions that are science-backed and, really at the intersection of good governance, forward-looking infrastructure planning, sustainability practices, and of course, active community participation. So in the panel here today, we have, the best of policy, research, community action and practice over here with respect to water planning and management. So I think I'll first start the conversation with Dr. Raji from BWSSP. And so we know that, within BWSSP, with the summer coming soon, there are a lot of initiatives that are happening to prepare for the upcoming summer, right? And if you could briefly, throw light on what these initiatives are, and also maybe talk a little bit about some of the things like Sanchari Kaveri and all of that, on how that will help in solving some of the challenges that might come in the coming months.
ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ ಹೇಳಿರೋದು ತಮ್ಮನ್ನು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ರೈಸ್ಕ್ ಮಾಡಿರೋದು. Thank you, madam, for your question. So the summer is fast approaching, and also the water scarcity people are predicting all over the India. Similarly for Bangalore. But the thing is, this time we have commissioned very recently in the year 2024 Kaveri 5th stage. The capacity of that Kaveri 6th stage is 775 MLD only, out of which we have consumed so far only 400 MLD. So BWSSB is having the capacity to pump another balance 350 MLD, 375 MLD with us as a reserve. Okay, that will make sure that everyone feel comfortable with respect to the water supply. Second thing is water into the localized areas like peripheral areas and other areas wherein most of the people depend upon the borewell water, wherein exactly 100% pipeline has been laid so far, and most of the areas water supply is commissioned. But many reluctancy is there from the builder, from the apartment owners or the commercial people or the consumers who have built more flats and other things. They are not taken the connection. I will request all of you to take the connection as per the BWSSB norms, and also we have given EMI scheme to pay the connection charges to the public based on the government directions. Make use of their schemes and also take the water to your houses and feel free and stress-free life for water supply in your premises. And third one is regarding the slum areas or the apartments wherein the water they are what connection they are taken is not sufficient to provide the water supply to that area based on the localized problems, wherein we are having Sanchari's Kaveri also. Sanchari's Kaveri is one of the scheme you can book our water tankers online, and we are going to provide you to your doorsteps with a reasonable price. Instead of going for a borewell water pumped from somewhere and through that tanker, local tankers, you can go for that. Then this will help you to get the pure water from BWSSB. And also major problem in summer is in the slum areas where people don't have the capacity to store the water for one day, next day. Therein they required more water on daily basis. So we identified all these areas where the slums are there, in the slum areas where the water supply is little strenuous. In that areas, we are providing some tanks, syntax tanks also for them to get the water on the continuous basis. So this summer, BWSSB is fully prepared to face, and we have enough water with us, enough network is there, infrastructure is there, pumping system is there, engineering is there. With that, we will assure you that this summer will not be a problem for Bengaluru citizens on behalf of BWSSB.
Thank you. Thanks so much for the reassurance, sir. So now this kind of neatly moves into the next discussion that we want to have that's more focused on groundwater, which is one of the most, precious resource if you look at Bangalore, right? Because 50% of the demand of, demand in Bangalore is actually met from groundwater sources. So it's really important to understand the status or, how deep or how high the groundwater is currently. And how are we planning to manage this resource? So I'll go over to Professor Rao first. And we know that, at IISc, there is a large initiative and study where you have a network of IoT sensors within these, bore wells pumping groundwater. Could you throw a little bit light on, what the data from these IoT sensors are actually revealing, and how this information can actually be used by, used to better manage the groundwater resources in the city?
Yeah, I'm going to, Namaskara elrigu. Yeah, I'm going to, hatra itkovek ansutte. I'll try. I don't know if this is the closest. Inna olaga hodre maatadakagalla. Yeah, seems better. Okay, thanks for the question. A bit of a long answer I would give so that you guys can understand what it is. So this initiative itself was started when we approached the BWSSB chair post the very drought-like situations for Bangalore way back in 2024. That was 24 summer. We had, there were wards of Bangalore where it was the groundwater levels were very low and borewells failed. So those wards had a lot of difficulty in getting water. So there was too much bad press saying that Bangalore is finished, Bangalore is dead, all kinds of stuff. So people are waiting to paint the Bangalore in the bad picture. So we approached BWSSB chair, myself and Professor Shekhar from Civil Engineering Department, and we said we have some models where we can use to create something called as a groundwater outlook. So the idea here is there are some groundwater monitoring devices commissioned by CGWB, the Central Groundwater Board, and also the Groundwater Directorate. which is the state version of the CGWB. So they had some 50 plus piezometers where they are monitoring groundwater levels at different locations of Bangalore. And we said we can use that data. Professor Shekhar and his team had done way back when in 2015 to 2018. They would have predicted how much groundwater was being lost and how much groundwater is being charged. So there was some model built, and we said we will extend it, use AIML, and start predicting groundwater levels maybe 3-4 months ahead of time. So by December or January, we would know which months, which wards would become critical. So that was the project. When we approached BWSSB, they were more than happy to support the program. They said that in addition to this 50 groundwater monitoring devices, they came forward and in a war footing, they have commissioned a program which will install close to about 6,000 such units. They are not small units. They're complicated units. That was not available. So they somehow, when we heard that number 6,000, we said, yeah, that's not going to be possible. We know how difficult it is to install them, but we should really, give a lot of credit to BWSSB chair and the entire team of BWSSB, who are capable now. As of today, some 2,000 plus such units are installed. We are getting now, daily data of groundwater levels in the critical wards of Bangalore. So we are using that, and we have identified, I think there was a couple of days ago, there was also a press release by the chair where we are looking at what are the critical wards. The whole idea here is we don't want to be firefighting at the last minute. We want to be prepared. So we know in February, what are the critical wards. So BWSSB knows what are the critical wards, so they can take action so that they are not firefighting at the end of the day. So a similar exercise was done last year. So some 80 wards were identified. This year, the ward numbers have come down because of the efforts of BWSSB. So they have more water. They have done the networks now. So the number of wards have come down. The number of wards also have shifted a bit. So that is the idea. So for those of you who don't know how groundwater is used, we are 800 square kilometers. That's what is Bangalore. And we pump nearly 1 MLD per square kilometer. So about 800 to 1,000 million liters every day we extract from ground. Okay, so we don't get as much recharge. So Bangalore, you can imagine like a cut orange kept upside down. So the highest point is somewhere behind ISC, and then it drains into 3 valleys. That's how the topography of Bangalore is. So is your rainwater. So the rainwater also goes out. So does the groundwater flow out. So the periphery of Bangalore, where the 110 villages come, and also the most used eastern part of it. So the groundwater levels are very, very, very deep. And you also get very hard water. So those are the areas which are very critical. They don't have networks from BWSSB to get Kaveri. People pump groundwater a lot. So these are the challenges. So good suggestion as what Rajiv was saying. Dr. Rajiv was saying. He was saying, get connections from BWSSB and then use that water. You are assured of good quality water because that is Kaveri water treated and given to you. If you take a local supply, we don't know where the water is going to come from. What is the quality of that water, and it will vary, on a daily basis. So to answer your question in a short, yes, that's an initiative which is taken up. Eventually, the whole thing will be dashboarded, and BWSSB will have a dashboard where they will start monitoring wards. Every ward, they will know what is the groundwater level. So that is the whole process when the whole project is getting completed. So that is where we are headed. So as a city, BWSSB also recognizes that it is important to monitor groundwater, and they have commissioned this project, which is going well with the help of ISC, Professor Shekhar and I, and also from CGWB and the Groundwater Directorate. So all of us have put efforts onto this. Thank you.
Thanks so much. So now we know what's really happening with groundwater, right? I mean, how much is there, how much is pumped, and what would be the critical wards. Now, moving over to what can be done, and this is where I want to come over to you, Vishwanath sir. The Biome's Million Wells campaign has been phenomenal in, improving or increasing recharge within the city. Now, with respect to apartments that are there in the city, what are how do apartments even start their recharge journey, right? What are the different things that they really need to look at? How do they identify, locations for having these recharge zones or recharge wells, however we want to do it? So if you could shed some light on that.
Yeah, thanks for that. So Bangalore has been, if you look at the broad picture, Bangalore has 3 taps, as one says, 3 taps, meaning Kaveri is one tap. We bring the water from the pipeline. The second tap is rainwater, which falls on our city. The third tap is treated used water, right? So we have 3 taps and 4 stores. The stores being some tanks or reservoirs that we build, lakes and wetlands, aquifers. These are the major stores that we have, and of course soil profile, because Bangalore is also a city with a lot of trees and parks. The soil needs water for the trees and plants. We don't have to only think about ourselves as human beings, and to think of nature also as having its own share or right to water, because we need to keep the city green and clean. Now, the rainwater harvesting bylaw has kicked in Bangalore in 2009. Many apartments have already implemented rainwater harvesting. One bit of advice is the designers and developers are doing rainwater harvesting structures, recharge structures. But unfortunately, what's happening is that one is not doing something simple called a slug test. When you do a recharge well, typically 3 feet in diameter, and typically it should be 20 feet. And it should not be filled with gravel, sand, and all that. That's not necessary. It would just be a well which puts water in. What needs to be done is to do a sample of 2 or 3, put a certain volume of water, measure the rate at which it goes down into the aquifer, and on that basis, and the basis of the catchment, the rainfall intensity, you design number of recharge structures, make sure that your surface runoff and your rooftop runoff are either stored or put into the aquifer. Now, there are 2 kinds of aquifers in Bangalore. There is the shallow aquifer, which is really behaves differently from the deep borewell aquifer. The shallow aquifer responds quickly to recharge and quickly to lake filling. What we've been seeing in biome, because this is the rainwater harvesting question, is if rainwater, which cannot be harvested or collected at apartment or gated community or household level, is directed to the lakes. If the lakes receive treated used water, as the BWSSB itself is planning to fill 40 lakes with treated used water, the minor irrigation department of the government of Karnataka is already filling about 500 lakes in Kolar, Chikballapur, Bangalore rural, Bangalore urban with treated used water. Once these lakes are filled with these treated used water, what we find is the dug wells and the filter bore wells, we call them. Some of you who are from Bangalore would call it Boru or filter borewell. These are shallow borewells which go to 100 feet. These quickly respond. And what we've been able to do or showcase in Devanahalli is that by filling the lake with treated used water, the system can pump the equivalent of 6 million liters per day, and the entire requirement of Devanahalli can come from the shallow aquifer. So a combination of rainwater, lake restoration, and treated used water is the way to go ahead if we want circularity. The 800 million liters which we are exploiting, or the 1 million liter per square kilometer, means that we need to put 1 million liters per day equivalent into that 1 square kilometer. And that has to be done through rainwater harvesting and through lake rejuvenation and recharge. Right? That means that about 800 millimeters of rain, which is the actual average rainfall of Bangalore, slightly less than that, that much water has to be put into the aquifer for the aquifer to become sustainable. So we need to, and many apartments have shown that rainwater harvesting actually makes a difference. I can mention Century Saris, for example, or Brigade Woods. Many apartments have demonstrated that rainwater harvesting can be done and can be done systematically. What I'd request the apartments and the BF to do is to quickly document the best practices of rainwater harvesting, which has been done well, and share it across board with all other apartments so that they can replicate it and help the city become water sustainable.
Thank you. Thanks so much for that. Now, I want to come over to Rajesh, who represents the Bangalore Apartment Federation. And maybe from the RWA's perspective, like what are the challenges to even have these recharge structures within the fence, and challenges in having them, implementing them, maintaining them? Yeah, if you could reflect on that first, and then I'll come back to you.
Sure. So, as Vishwanath sir was saying, what RWA communities inherit is what the builder gives them, right? In some way that these plans, typically there are built plans, and then in the plans itself you have structures or places where they are proposing either previously they would propose only recharge pits, for example, pits that were only 2 meters with gravel, as he pointed out. That has moved on to actually seeing examples of storage where you're actually setting up rainwater harvesting tanks that can store the excess water in addition to your regular tanks that are there. And of course, you know, the recharge wells and the more recent examples. So, you know, there's been a transition from the early rainwater harvesting structures to where we are right now. And of course, you know, many communities are realizing the importance of doing this. I think there's been enough in the news and everybody hears about it. I think there's not a doubt, iota of doubt, that communities don't realize the importance of water. Yes, wherever feasible, these upgrades have to be done. Wherever design modifications are required, I think a lot of this is there, and it just needs to be accelerated a bit more, I think, wherever there's potential. Sometimes there are challenges in doing some things. For example, I've seen examples where there are penthouses, which means that you cannot use the water from that particular section. But wherever there is space, I think apartment communities are doing what's possible. And I think eventually we will get there to saying that we're not sending out even an iota of water, except for where you are not able to store that much. You just have to build enough capacity that you can store. So when you're designing or retrofitting these systems, you're just designing based on the calculations, how much storage capacity you have, and maximize what you can hold.
Yeah, thanks for that. Now, that's with respect to the recharge, right? Now, if you look at groundwater and look at the bore wells within the apartments, right? If you could maybe talk a little bit about what's the process for even registering a new or an existing bore well, you know, by the apartment. And what are the challenges with respect? Now, there's this new policy which came out, which said that, you know, once the extraction is over 25 kiloliters, there'll be a charge that will be levied. So, and then there is something that's already mentioned by the builder that the extraction would be so much. And then, you know, there are instances of apartment getting these fines and penalties and all of that. So if you could shed some light on that, on what the challenges are with respect to borewell registration and the charges that's levied.
Yeah, I think the first realization, as previous speakers have had, is, of course, we know that Bangalore is declared, including the surrounding areas where predominantly the growth is happening, is already declared as overexploited zones, right? Which means naturally that you have to obtain permissions before you can actually put in bore wells. Now, of course, you have the acts and rules, and then it's a question of how much this gets translated on the ground and gets implemented. Now, one question is, of course, as the city grows, you cannot stop development for the cost of saying that there is no water there. This is a situation that needs to be managed, right? So if you look at new projects that are happening in the north of the city, where I've seen some of these, wherever they have gone in, so they typically, the process is that you apply to the Karnataka Groundwater Authority, which is the authority that's actually responsible for sort of overseeing this and issuing permissions. I think the BWSSB is predominantly handling individual houses, but I'll come back to that. So if you're going for a new one, typically builders are going and applying to the authority. I think there is a straightforward fee of about 500 rupees. And then you have actually a geological survey report, which can either be done independently or being done through the agency itself, which can cost, I think the latest fee I was seeing just before coming was 10,000 rupees as a fees. And what these permits essentially do is allowing you to say, listen, this is how much you can extract based on whether it meets your requirement. You may suggest a limit in which that, say, you are allowed to extract, say, if you are having 4 borewells, this is your total extraction limit that you have per day. Some of them also put conditions that you have to monitor and report these levels every month. And in some cases, they've also asked for digital level recorders to be put into the borewells so that they can generate some automated data. There is also a fee that is also prescribed to say, based on the extraction. I've seen some of the fees being ranging from 5 to 10 rupees per KL. 10 rupees per KL. So if you're saying, for example, you are extracting 200 KL per day, then 200 into 5, then you pay that as an advance. Typically, these are permits that are issued for about 2 years. And then they ask you to come back and reapply and reassess and reapply. So this is what predominantly what the sort of rules and the process is. You have to submit a bunch of documents, and of course some of this I think is even under Sakala, so you have a 60-day turnaround time, which is good to know. Now, how much of this translating on the ground is of course for everybody to look at, in the sense, as I said. I'll take the other example of borewells. There's also the other side of it, where if you've already had a borewell, you need to go about registering that borewell. Now, there is an interesting thing I want to mention about that, which I was thinking about just before coming here, is one is that if you're already having a BWSSB connection, it's most probable that even individual homes or apartments already have a borewell fee, right? Which you're paying into, depending on the number of apartments. So into 100 rupees, if I'm correct, is a borewell fee that you have. Yes, sanitary fee. So for managing that water, which means that in some way, the BWSSB already has a record that all these apartments are already having borewells. And even if you wanted to extract that example and actually building upon what they said is, okay, how much groundwater, which is a big question, right? So you have so if you look at your bill itself, sort of will give you that answer. You have BWSSB, if you have a connection, you're going to get X amount of water per month. You have STP, most of these apartments are having STPs. STPs is going to contribute 40 to 50% of their water requirement. The balance is obviously going to come from somewhere. During the rainy seasons, you obviously have rainwater harvesting, that's going to be the tap. Else, you're obviously going to go either to tanker or have a borewell. So automatically, a lot of the apartments just using the BWSSI bill and how much STP they are having can easily estimate what is their water balance and how much their extraction, right? You don't need an extra effort to do this. So you know how much you're withdrawing every day. And this can be something that can easily BWSSB. This is where we are going back to some of the discussions that have been had in the past, that do you need a separate authority? Should BWSSB be the single authority where, if you can do this sort of math with just a BWSSB water bill and your STP knowledge, then do you need another authority to regulate all of this? So that's that's pretty much is somewhat what is happening with new. And really the question then it's, as you say, you can't stop people. I mean, the other side of things is if you ask a drilling company to come, he's going to come and do the job. He will say you have to obtain permits. People around your neighborhood ask if you have a permit. I think they get permits somehow if you ask them to get it. But who's stopping the drillers? The drillers are there everywhere. I mean, perhaps that's also one area, not just asking the apartment communities. They have a requirement. It has to be met through some means. They are calling drilling companies. Drilling companies are coming and doing the job for them. So this has also got down to doing the market economics, and everybody needs a livelihood and the system needs to function. And we need water because we are living there. We're a community. So
Thanks so much.
I just add one suggestion to the apartments who come here. If you have borewells, maintain a data. There should be actually a drilling log sheet. Just maintain that data, even the data of failed borewells. It's very important to understand what is the depth of the casing, what is the depth of the borewell, and even if it's failed, to maintain a record of how long it gave water and how long it lasted and how it failed. And one quick suggestion to the apartments who are here is, please put a water meter on your borewell. It's not very expensive. If you put a water meter, you'll be able to understand how much actually you're drawing from the borewell. And given the energy requirement of the borewell pumping, you'll also be able to understand the cost of production of the borewell groundwater, which will be very important for you to fix fees. And many apartments are already doing that. These simple steps will help further management of the borewell. The last point there in the borewell is also, if you can do 2 quality tests, one post-summer, one post-monsoon, it will tell you exactly or broadly how much recharge is occurring in the recharge zone for the borewell, based on the reduction in the total dissolved solids or on the reduction in chlorides, right? So these simple things, put a water meter, do a water quality test at least twice in a year, you'll be better informed for managing groundwater.
One point though, yeah, adding to both what have you said. For you guys to do the math, it's very simple, right? You know your number of people in your apartments complex, it's multiplied by 100. Typically, that's what we use. 100 LPCD is good enough. So you know how much, or sometimes a bit more, or 120 or 130, but you should be using, okay, that will also help us other things. What gets measured gets managed. So start measuring stuff. That's what he's talking about, looking at how much water you are pumping. BWSSB is bound to supply you 135. I get 105 in my house. That's all. I will consume less than that actually. If you guys are consuming more than 100 in your apartment complex, that means there is severe leakage or you guys are wasting water. So you know that you are not managing it well. You don't need more than 100 liters per day per person. That's my opinion. We have checked it. With 100, you can give plenty actually. That's a lot of water.
I mean, this is a real water saver and optimist here. You know, he doesn't know the apartments and the residents of the apartments of Bangalore. Many apartments actually report 250 to 265 liters per capita per day. The fact is that there are renters, that there are people who are not so concerned about water. So there is always that challenge. But therefore, when you have the BWSSB connection has a meter. The Borewell, if it has a meter, then you exactly know what is the per capita consumption, and therefore you are better able to design your STPs also, and that's something that we all can do.
Yeah, thanks so much for that. Just to add on to that, I mean, as per standards too, I mean, usually for urban area, it's 135, that's as per the standards, and metro cities even higher, 150. And Bangalore, as Vishwanath sir mentioned, some of the apartments, it's way higher, that, you know, the LPCD, the liters per capita demand that's actually used. So now moving a little bit away from the quantity, that is the groundwater and how much water is really used, moving to the quality aspects of the water that we really consume, right? So I want to start the discussion with, again, Dr. Rajiv, you. What can really be done, not just from BWSSB side, but as a community, to really give an assurance about the water quality that's coming from, you know, Kaveri piped water supply. And this is also in the context of all the events that happened, like in case of Indore or some of the events in Bangalore. How do you actually assure citizens that, hey, it is of a certain good quality? And the important bit is that Kaveri water is of, you know, pretty good quality, and you don't sometimes even need an RO treatment plant in every case, you know, when the BWSSB, the Kaveri supply is good. So what can be done from BWSSB and from the community's end to give this reassurance?
Hello. Thank you, madam. So many of you are aware that recently also we have published in the paper everywhere. Kaveri water, what we are supplying, treated water from the Kaveri river is supplying, is certified by BIS agency. It is a BIS standard water we are supplying. It is the first water utility in India to obtain the BIS certification for the quality of the water what we are going to supply in Bengaluru city. That's what we all should be proud about that. We have a very good network system, distribution system, and water is passing through the several dia networks, means from the higher dia to lower dia. And when it goes in the streets of the houses, it is called as the distribution network. It is the smallest pipe. From there, we are taking the water further lowest pipes, that is called the household connection pipe. See, engineering also sometimes it fails. What we say is, the engineers manufactured one bad material that is called GI material, GI pipes. GI pipes are the house connection pipes which we used 15 years back in any of the cities, and also in Bengaluru city. These GI pipes are having the life of about 5 to 10 years only. it used to be having because of the chlorination available in the water, it used to be deteriorated and there will be holes. Unfortunately, these holes will be crossing some stormwater drains or crossing some nala, what is called house in front drains wherein sewage is also flowing. What happens? Ours is not a 24/7 supply. We supply every alternate days to 4 to 6 hours. During the 4 to 6 hours, water will leak, and whenever there is no water in the pipeline, vacuum will create. These stormwater drains, contaminated water will be sucked in the pipeline and it will be going for mixing with the pure water, and some locality in a particular zone will be affected. That is called as a contamination. That happens in low-lying areas, in some pockets wherein it is just because of two reasons. One is the pipeline which the household connections are used is not of good quality, or the pipeline which the distribution system is of very old, means some layouts will have PVC pipes also, cast iron pipes also. All those pipes are there in the olden layouts. That will create such type of contaminations. These contaminations, once we are able to come to know, we are using now robotic technology that I think all of you are known through the media also. Earlier, we used to find out that where the pinpointing has happened, where the contamination happened, where the source has contaminated source has come, was the very tedious process. Now we are running the robot inside our distribution network, and we will able to find out where the leakage has happened and other things. It is fasten our technology also will reduce our time taken to repair that and all other things. As far as Kaveri water is supplied, we are supplying it to your sump, most probably in most of the case. And from there you are going to use it for overhead tanks for the purpose of 24/7. The major thing in quality issue comes again in the second stage is the sump cleanness. If you are not going to clean the sump periodically, every 6 months, and overhead tanks, definitely the TDS available in water will going to affect the quality of the water. That's what, when the Kaveri water quality is concerned, only you have to use the filters. The filters is more than sufficient if we are using it from the sump and the overhead tank. If we are using directly from the Kaveri water source itself, there is no requirement of any filters or RO. All those things are not at all required. Even I am using Kaveri water from 30 years without using any RO, without using any filters. I am having the wet quality of water and drinking the same thing every time. So that's what quality of water, you need not be worried. It is a pure quality what we are supplying. It is the greatest quality what we are supplying. And taste of the Kaveri water is something amazing. You cannot see that type of taste anywhere. That's what people are saying. No, once they come to Bengaluru, drink our water, they will never leave this city and go. That's what we have 1.46 crores population is there, expected to reach 1.8 by the year 2030. We are in a tremendous pressure to increase the water supply also. Meanwhile, other than that, we have 100 locations in a 800 square kilometer. Every day we take the samples, and in our website also we are publishing those results of the water quality. Any quality changes because chlorine, residual chlorine reduction or contamination, anything is there. Our main, as per our book rules, we have guidance. As per that, till the contamination is over, we have to take the reading every day on that particular spot and make sure that water is fit for drinking. Then only we can leave that place. This is how we are maintaining the quality. Supervisor QA QC also we are doing the water supply to the Bengaluru citizens. Thank you.
Thanks so much for that. So that's with respect to the quality of Kaveri water supply. Now, moving over to the quality of groundwater sources, and which is pumped from bore wells, right? And the question to you, Professor Rao, is since a lot of water is anyway pumped from bore wells, there is always this issue of high TDS, right? So from the RWS perspective, what could be some of the cost-effective ways to actually deal with that? Yeah.
If you start going to deep levels of water, then you will have problems of high TDS. But as what Nath was saying, if you have shallow levels and if you're taking water from shallow aquifers, you should not have very high TDS. Okay, let me say, can you hear me now? Yeah, so if it is too deep, yeah, you will have high TDS levels. But if it is shallow aquifers, then you should not have high TDS levels. What are the options if you are stuck with a high TDS water? So what do you do? So you are stuck with it. So typically, what individual household ROs are what typically do. One of the solutions is you go for an RO system, but at an individual household level. The cost of that in terms of water wastage and in terms of energy needed to use that, it is very high. Okay. So first option for me is, if I am stuck with a high TDS, I will look for a better water source. In a way, you don't have to go for that water source. You should look for alternative water sources. That should be my first way of tackling it. You should also start looking at recharge of groundwater and recharge using treated wastewater as well. Both of that will reduce TDS levels over a period of time. So you start measuring your groundwater levels and groundwater qualities. If you do your recharge very well, your TDS levels should drop as a function of time. Over and above that, you're still stuck with it. You want to still address it. My solution would be to go for centralized, treatment of systems inside the apartment complexes, which are cheaper compared to having many individual household level RO systems. If you go for a centralized system, the centralized systems are typically high pressure systems. They would have less wastage. They would not have, your 70% wastage, what your typical RO would have. This would have efficiencies of above 80%, close to about 75 to 80% you would have. Your wastages will come down of that water, and you will also be able to treat it with a higher efficiency as well. So your energy cost will come down, plus your wastages will come down. So to answer your question, 3 solutions. Look for low TDS water. If you are stuck with high TDS water, start making measurements or making measures to reduce the TDS over a period of time. That takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. Start recharging your groundwater using rainwater. Start recharging your groundwater with well-treated wastewater. So both of it should combine, should raise your groundwater levels, plus also drop down the TDS. That's what we have seen even in all the recycling projects that we are doing. So that helps a lot. Third, go for centralized water treatment systems within the apartment complex, which is much better than your individual household ROs.
Okay, so when you say centralized treatment, centralized RO plants within the apartment, is it?
Yes, that can be.
Okay.
Only for groundwater. Only, again, ROs have their more, if you look at the long-term benefit versus long-term loss, you have a long-term loss with RO systems. RO systems take out the necessary minerals, which is important for you. Over a long period of time, that's not very good for you. Okay? Water is not only about removing TDS, So you want to make sure that you don't need RO for what kind of water we get. Occasionally, you might get some contamination with biological contamination. Just sterilizing the water is good enough. Typically, just after the rains, just boil the water and drink. That's much more sufficient than having this kind of RO systems. But if you're stuck with it, you high TDS level, you have no alternative, then you would go for centralized RO system.
Okay.
Compared to individual RO systems.
Okay, thanks. Thank you so much for that. Now I want to move on to Rajesh, and I would really, first maybe if you could reflect on, how would a centralized RO how easy would it be to actually run and maintain that. That's one thing. The other thing is, again, a centralized system that's there within the apartments, like the STP that is run and managed by the RWAs, right? How can we, as the Bangalore Apartment Federation, what can be done from your end to actually shift the perspective of RWAs from looking at these STPs as mere compliance, done just merely for compliance, but as systems that can really improve their, reduce their freshwater consumption and, have something of a very high quality that can ultimately lead to more reuse within the apartment. So if you could reflect on both of that, that'd be great.
Yeah, I think
Seems to like that.
all right. So, I think the centralized RO is definitely a good suggestion. The only follow-up question I have, which you can respond, is what do you do with the reject water? There's a lot of reject that comes through RO, which is also becomes this thing. Perhaps maybe centrally it's handled better than individually. I don't know the answer, because individually sometimes you can take it and actually maybe use it for plants or really purposes or washing. I don't know. I mean, those are the questions that we need to see. But many a time now you're seeing a lot of models where you are getting individual units even on OPEX, where you don't need to buy the RO unit and you can actually literally rent it. If similar models at the centralized level are there, there's also water treatment plants where people are removing hardness. That's much more common than centralized RO as far as what we've observed. But I guess we just need to see the economics of it, and if it works out, and if we can, get past that. Coming to the STP side, that's a much more complex thing. I think, as I said, again, we inherit systems which may be well designed, which may be suboptimal. RWAs are in the process of managing and operating them, right? So if you look at it, I think I'll break it down to a few things. One is, of course, there are some system design issues which have to be rectified over time, retrofits, which also cost money. The second one I would say is operators who are there. Many a time it's, it's still yet to come to an age where you actually have a full-fledged training course for an STP operator, right? These are typically either electricians or plumbers who are actually coming and managing your systems. I know there's some work that EMPRI has done and others have done, but I think there's a lot more to go. Else what they are doing is they are essentially learning on the job, and that's just putting everybody at risk. So something has to be done there in terms of training the operators who are deputed. Additionally, especially on the safety aspect of managing the systems, that's something that's often overlooked, because many a times these STPs are placed in the backyard of the apartment complex, right? Where nobody wants to go to, none of the apartments members even visit those corners. These are placed there, so there's a lot of safety risks that particularly why the training is very important in terms of understanding that piece of it. Yes, nowadays we have automation that can help. I would think one is, of course, you can have treatment systems which are monitored. There are examples of doing that. We just need to see what are the costs of doing that, right? Are these affordable for apartment communities? Are they, for example, we cannot put we cannot put BOD and COD monitors, which the Pollution Control Board asks for us, because if you are going for double spectrometer sort of systems, those are really expensive and they need to be maintained by its own thing. I think even BWSSB plants, when I checked the data yesterday, I didn't see reported data online. Some plants did report it. So even the municipal systems in some ways suffer with these online monitoring systems. So what do apartments do in that case? Yes, lower cost systems have come. The innovation has taken place. I think there needs to be more acceptance from the pollution control boards. Some of the good examples which I can immediately think is, say, an ORP based dosing system, which is low cost, which can at least do that quick check before chlorine dosing takes place. So I would think that is one of the things that is there. And just finally coming back on the retrofit point, right? Apartment communities are managing multiple systems. Lift, water, wastewater, and STP is just one of them. They really need to see how to allocate their budgets, right? Yes, water is a priority, is an essential service, but many a times, sometimes all those retrofits really have to, if they go into say multiple digits of lakhs, have to go to approval. Some of that takes time because you need to get in buy-in from your through your AGM or call for a special AGM to address it if these budgets are larger. Some of these retrofits really taking from the apartment community take time to happen. And unfortunately, I mean, there is no other thing. It's not that apartment community can take a line of credit to actually retrofit. Yes, there is OPEX models that many newer vendors and startups are coming up with, which are making these upgrades much more affordable. So that's a good sign. Then, of course, without going, there is the GST implication and all of this complexity that is there. So there's many things that we deal with. But if I say one is from training, low-cost automation, and then, of course, better models on upgrading systems over time. And again, we just need to see what is, whether the vendors, I think also the other important thing is when we look at BAF itself, we have different size apartment communities, right? We have right from, in fact, bulk of apartment communities that BAF has is between 100 and 200. Their systems are only about 100, 200 or maximum 250 KLD. Now, are these systems even viable to operate in the long run? Yes, there are, I mean, some of them, yes, I think there are mixed answers to all of that, but we really got to see if I, for example, in a few years' time, if we receive a new regulation on tightening pollution control board norms, I don't think apartments will be in a position to actually fund and retrofit their systems. I think municipal systems itself take a 3 to 5 year upgrade period. So we can't expect apartments to keep up with those standards. Yes, maybe larger communities, say above 300, 500 KLD, are better placed to do where the business sense is there for them to do it. For smaller systems, over time, we really need to see once the BWSSB network is there, can we actually have them connected? I know 120 is a number that Sir had talked about and introduced. Maybe that number perhaps over time has to go up and get to a number that's really viable for STP operators as well as for apartment communities who are really in this business of negotiating that and putting the upgrades in place.
Thank you. Thanks so much for that. Audience over here, there's a QR code where you can actually log in some of the questions that you have. And towards the end of the discussion, we'll look at answering some of the questions that you shared. Now, I want to zoom out a little bit and look at, some of the water circularity initiatives that we are doing. And the question is to you, Vishwanath sir, that, we are treating water and then sending it out to lakes so that more recharge can happen and water can be used for irrigation and all of that. Now, while that's a great initiative with respect to water circularity and needs to be done, how do we address the issues and the reports that are coming up with respect to, heavy metals and all of that in vegetables and crops that are being grown, especially in the peri-urban areas? So, and what could be some of the safeguards that can be put in place so that that doesn't happen?
So, the treated wastewater which the BWSSB is sending from its STPs. Is it audible or not? Yeah. Okay. I don't know what happens to it. Yeah. So when the treated wastewater leaves the BWSSB STP, it meets very stringent norms set by the NGT on treatment quality, and the BWSSB plants all meet it. So there is no heavy metal in this wastewater. The unfortunate part of the public discourse and narrative is like, for example, when you said that there is heavy metal in the vegetables, a recent report. Nobody has seen the report. I've been trying with Mr. Mahesh of EMPRI to read what the report actually says, but without reading the report, we have come to conclusions many a time, right? So I think we need to make narratives more scientific. We need reports to be more scientific. What the report said in the press, as per the press, is that there is lead found on vegetables collected in shops in various places, markets all over the place. Now, where was they grown? Where is the place that the soil was contaminated is an issue to be examined and to be addressed. But most probably it is due to fertilizers, pesticides, insecticides, weedicides, herbicides, which are being overused, right? So if water is the cause of it, then there should be appropriate steps to be taken. Now, the second component of it is the imagination that Bangalore is showing with regard to treated used water is fantastic. It says that this treated used water can be put to productive use by farmers of drought-prone, climate change-affected districts. And it's the second largest project of its kind in the world when it's fully implemented, next only to that of Mexico City, right? What it aims to do is to give good quality water for farmers to irrigate and cultivate, so therefore they have water security and they have livelihood security. In turn, the food they grow comes to the city and the food is healthy and the city has food security, right? So that's the circularity. Nobody wants their food to be contaminated. Nobody wants to send polluted water into lakes. Nobody wants to contaminate groundwater, right? So we need to put in place systems which do it, and that system is already in place because the BWSSB checks what the water quality is, and the minor irrigation department checks what the water quality is, and Dr. Lakshmi Narayan is part of a committee which has been checking what the water quality is across all the lakes, and nowhere has heavy metal been found. Now, should the water quality be improved? For sure, especially secondary contamination which is occurring around certain lakes which are contaminated by domestic sewage or sometimes industrial effluents, that need to be addressed. That's a matter of concern and to be addressed. What we have found in the Devanhalli case, where we've been tracking the water qualities, the Devanhalli lake water, which is coming from the HN Valley project, actually is potable except for fecal coli and E. coli and fecal coliform, right? However, we can set up in place water treatment plants for future contamination. So therefore, the Devanhalli plant actually treats for pharmaceutical residues, it treats for antibiotic-resistant bacteria, it treats for insecticides, and it does so through the activated carbon filtration process, where you put in place enough adsorption to make sure that even microplastics are removed. So it's all possible for us to do things scientifically, and we should progress in the direction of particular reuse in the case of Bangalore by filling the lakes of Bangalore, and in the case of Kolar, where Chikballapur, Anekal, so that everybody benefits as a whole, as a region. The overall imagination is that Bangalore becomes a water and fertilizer factory. It's not a net consumer of water, it's a net generator of water. And that's what we can show, and we can support what will be the greater Bangalore completely through this critical lifeline, which is the Kaveri for us. With the sixth phase, another 500 MLD coming in, we'll stop at 2,750 MLD, right? 2,750 MLD. With 2,750 MLD, we can actually support a population of, let me put this number before you, 40 million. So Bangalore, in my opinion, if it does proper rainwater harvesting, proper recycling, proper management of Kaveri waters with adequate leak reduction, which is already being done, there is enough resource for us. The question is, do we get the distribution right and do we get the investments right to make sure that there is no sewage flowing in our drains, that all sewage is collected and treated, and that the treated sewage of adequate quality fills our wetlands and lakes, fills our aquifers and groundwater, and becomes available to us for agricultural use, for environmental use, for industrial use, and for urban use. That's possible. And I think that vision is what BEST should aim for, what BWSSB in its geography aims for, but BWSSB's impact is outside its geography. 750 square kilometers BMA area, BWSSB is able to do it, but their treated wastewater is actually impacting 1,500 square kilometers. And that's what the planning horizon should look like, self-sufficiency for all. Apartment federations which are in the north, for example, Hirnandani, Devanhalli International Airport, all of them are benefiting because of the recharge of groundwater by the treated wastewater of Bangalore. So protection of those lakes, protection of the groundwater there, and protection of the treated wastewater there is critical for us. Unfortunately, there's no institution looking at it. How do we create those institutions outside Bangalore geography to be able to manage it better is providing water for Bangalore's future. If we don't get it right now, we will fail the future generations.
I had a point on heavy metals, really. Every time I get a forum, I really want to put this point across on heavy metals. This is a bhuta that has been created to really scare you guys on, I think. See, what are we talking about? We are talking about sewage, the wastewater coming out from after use of human beings. You and I don't consume heavy metals, right? If we consume heavy metals, we are dead. So if we're not consuming heavy metals, we are not discharging heavy metals to begin with. So there is no source of heavy metal coming out from human discharge. So we are talking about domestic wastewater. Then, so where is heavy metal? There is no heavy metal. Next, you can say, during rainy months, there is urban runoff, there are lead recycling batteries that will go and then discharge water into my lakes. That is where is heavy metal. Okay, agreed. Even during the most rainy months, we have measured heavy metals. I have been monitoring heavy metals for the past 7 years. I'm still looking. The best of the best place to measure heavy metals is IISc Bangalore. We have the world's best equipment to measure even at the PPB level. Okay, so that's the kind of technology and infrastructure IISc has. I have 3 systems in IISc. In all the 3 systems, we have been checking for the past 7 years and we can't detect heavy metals. There is a chemistry. We have published papers that the thermodynamically heavy metal cannot exist in sewage because it has to precipitate out. That is the chemistry. That is the thermodynamics of it. So even during rainy months, if it goes in, there is H2S, that's why it smells. So it will precipitate as metal sulfide. Metal sulfides have very low solubility. This is, those of you who have 12th standard kids, Kipps reaction is something that we all studied. So you would know this. It should precipitate out. Metal sulfides have the lowest solubility. So there is no risk of heavy metals, guys. So don't worry about it. If people have found heavy metals, I would request them, please send the report as what he said. I have not seen the report. We have been looking at heavy metals for 7 years. KC Valley project started in 2019. Since then, we monitor heavy metals, okay? Diligently we monitor. I'm yet to find heavy metals, any of them. We monitor all 17 heavy metals with the most precise equipment we have in India. Not possible. I'm not finding it. So, and I know I cannot find it. So anyway, that's the story. So don't get scared of this bhuta of heavy metals, okay? It's a bhuta created for various reasons.
Thanks so much for that. I completely agree about, how wastewater treatment and reuse is actually boosting water circularity in Bangalore and in the surrounding regions. And what really needs to be done is to amplify the positives of it and how it's really helping not just the city, but the surrounding area, and not something that's not scientifically backed as yet. So now what we'll do is that the panel discussion would be interspersed by 2 flash talks, 3-minute flash talks by 2 innovators in the water ecosystem. And we'll come back to the panel after that. The first flash talk is by Genex. If I can invite Genex over to the stage to give the 3-minute flash talk.
Am I audible? Yes. Yeah. First of all, thank you, BAF, to invite me here and an opportunity for talking to you all. So here now, today, the topic is science-backed technologies, science-backed solutions for water security. That is the topic, I think. Like we talked about the groundwater contaminations, the groundwater, how we need to take care of it. Then we talked about BWSSB supplies, the quality of the water, the quantity challenges we have. You know that our city is actually, we are actually having a lot of water pressure. You know that, like 2024, we had a very bad scenario here. And being a wastewater treatment player in the market from past 25 years, so we have gone through a lot of challenges in operating and maintaining the STPs, especially in apartments, especially. We operate in commercial buildings, or the retail buildings, IT parks, and then in residential buildings. Residential buildings, actually, the challenge, when you get into an STP in a residential building, the first thing is there will be a lot of noise, lot of smell, okay, and operators may be not available there. Lot of darkness. It is actually a dark area, in terms of aesthetic thing, everything. Now, so I will take 2 minutes to talk about how technology is going to evolve, and technology is evolving the wastewater recycling. In that, mainly, how IoT and IoT, we mentioned about IoT monitoring of the water treatment and wastewater treatment. We already mentioned about it. Beautiful places, we already started doing it. And 2017 onwards, so we started monitoring the wastewater parameters, quantity and quality, okay, as per the KSPCB and CPCB norms. So let's say your BOD, COD, your pH, and a couple of other parameters like TSS, turbidity and all. But now, one step ahead. So that was only IoT. Okay, that was only IoT. Okay, we just collect the data, and we were seeing all this in the dashboards, and we take actions manually. But now the technology is even evolved. So now we are into a stage where we are collecting this data through IoT sensors, okay, and then we are processing it. We developed our own artificial intelligence system to react to that, okay, take actions. Let it be predictive actions, okay, preventive actions, and avoid the breakdowns. So here the major breakthrough is we had a month back, Well Labs and BAF, we had a 2-day workshop on decentralized STPs, how effectively we can operate the decentralized STPs, which is around 4,500 in the city of Bengaluru. And most of these panelists were there, and even Vishwan sir and BWSSP sir also was there, and Gayatri was there. Then we discussed about the challenge of getting skilled operators to operate these STPs. Okay, so now then we talk about Mahesh sir was there, MPRI, how MPRI can support giving the operators. Now it is a big challenge now, getting skilled operator to operate these STPs, going to be a big challenge. It's already started. We don't have proper manpower to operate the STP. So then one side we are talking about how effectively we need to operate it. So then the technology plays the major role. So there a lot of technologies are now coming up, like IoT, AI based, and we started doing it, the remote operations. The plant, which is, we have displayed outside also, that how a plant can be remotely operated. We are doing it already. Okay, there is no manpower in the plant. It is completely unmanned. Okay, it may be people will surprise at wonder how it can be done. But it is that is what how the technology is evolving now. So see, this is what I can say, like how we can improve the water quality, even treatment efficiency. Okay, and then the major challenge of treating 100% of our STP water in the residential segment. So commercial segment already using this treated water 100% back to their systems in cooling tower and boiler and many other applications. They are already using it for many years. But the biggest challenge in the residential apartments is, only 40 or 50% can be reused. Balance is actually we are putting it to the BWSSB drain, which is actually overloading the treatment again. Like we already spend money to treat that, but again we are overloading the system to treat again. So our carbon emissions are actually, we are doubling there. So these technologies, I think we should try. We should promote these technologies. We should welcome these technologies. I think my request to BAF is actually BAF can promote these kind of innovative technologies to the members of the BAF, so that BAF can be one of the biggest change maker in the water security segment, city of Bengaluru and for Karnataka. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Jeevan and Genex. So there are a couple of stalls outside the venue, and you can please feel free during the tea break to go out and check those stalls. And the Genex stall is also there, and a couple of others are also there for consultations and to share their innovations and innovative systems. We have one more flash talk now, which is from Metsi, if I can invite them over to the stage.
Good afternoon to everyone. All of us would have heard about oxygen sag, like, which is a very critical thing when we talk about water and rivers being contaminated because of lack of oxygen. That's the same problem we have from a psychological perspective of all associations trying to reuse water in a closed loop. They're scared to reuse water because however well the water is treated, as per US EPA, wastewater has to be used within 24 hours. So in reality, what happens, you'll get color of water, which is sometimes slightly yellowish, and of course you have bad odor. So we have nanotechnology, which is an age-old technology, very exorbitant because it was all internationally done, an initiative from IIT, and it's no more make in India, it's now made in India. It's available at a very reasonable, viable price. What does the nanotechnology do? It's basically a generator which produces nanobubbles. It has surface area million times more, invisible to the eye. You basically track it through nanoparticle light meters or through lasers. And what does it do? Very interestingly, about 50% of the nanobubbles remain in water for about 45 days. So we're basically talking about oxygen, which is the heart of any wastewater system, for the microbes to do the work for biodegradation. Imagine it remaining in the water. It remains in the pipe, it remains in your overhead tank, it remains in your cistern till it's used. And this largely solves water which is going to be stored, because we are primarily talking about large issues of storing water. Of course, it's got great benefits for soil, for irrigation, primarily because it has better nutrient intake, better penetration, etc. So this is developed from alumnus from IIT Kanpur, and it's very well used in various aspects of wastewater and other allied fields. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now coming back to the discussion, and here now we'll be discussing a little bit about the way forward and the solutions that we can really think about. And first, starting with you, Dr. Rajiv. Now, if you can maybe talk a little bit about Kaveri Stage 5 and the issues that you mentioned. 6 is the new one, and with respect to 5 also, there are issues as in apartments are not coming forward to get the connections, and what would be your message? You did mention that briefly, but then if you could reflect on that a little bit more, and also about Kaveri Stage 6, which was recently announced. And yeah, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, madam. Regarding Kaveri 5th stage, it is water of 775 MLD scheme. It has started from inception report has started from 2016 onwards, and various study has been conducted by BWSSB and also by JICA team, scientist team consisting of 20 various different discipline engineers from Japan, and after that the tendering has taken place. Here in this 775, majorly it covers about a garlanding structure, means a pipeline is going in the periphery of the Bengaluru on the both the sides. Water enters from Kanakpura road side and goes up to GKVK from the west side, and also east side it goes to Woody side. And now the entire work is completed. It is commissioned on 15th of October 2024, and 400 MLD, 400 million liters of water every day we are supplying right now, even though scheme is 775. It is designed to take the water supply load of Bengaluru city up to 2035. But because of this growth, exponential growth in city, the population is going to reach around 2 crores. Area to here, they have to be there only, proper water supply to be provided. They have allocated from the irrigation quota of Karnataka 275 TMC is the Karnataka quota on the Kaveri river, out of which only they made the internal adjustment and given another 6 TMC of water to Bengaluru city, thinking the future of Bengaluru, considering the population up to 2035, 35 to 36, for which we have taken up the project and BWSSB has prepared the DPR. Earlier, all these stages of 2,275 MLD of water, which is coming to Bengaluru city, is having the production rate of 52 rupees per kiloliter. But Kaveri 6 stage, we have made it through directly coming from the KRS, which is having 30 rupees per kiloliter. That means water is available at Bengaluru city at economical way, cheaper way compared to that of the earlier scale. This is one of the best water supply scheme we would like to have. The entire cost itself is 6,939 crores, out of which land acquisition, laying the pipeline along the national highways, state highways and other things are also there. Land acquisition to an extent of 135 acres is there. The beauty of this treatment plant, what we have designed is, as our keynote speaker has told, Kaveri river itself is getting contaminated over the years because of the upstream towns and cities used to treat the water, sometimes never used to treat, and letting the sewage into the valley, and there is a chance of increase in BOD. First time in BWSSB, we are designing these treatment plants to an extent of handling BOD up to 25 ppm. That is that type of precaution also we are taken. And also river course, we are taking it from directly dam. There may be chance of consolidation of chromium in the bed. For that also, heavy metal absorption technology, removal of the heavy metal through absorption technology also we have adopted in that scheme. And these treatment plants of BWSSB, what we are having right now, for 6 treatment plants, it is of the world class level. Even in even I visited to Japan for 1.5, stayed there for more than 3 months. Japan, our treatment plants are much par with the Japan technologies. They are also coming and seeing our technologies, and they are also praising BWSSB for the quality of the treatment plant, water treatment plant we have. Similarly, sewage treatment plant also. So this is the one of the best way. This water enters into the Bengaluru through Mysore Road now this time, and it moves towards the northern side of the Bengaluru. Water distribution will happen, and this water is made use for entire Bengaluru city. And government of Karnataka is very keen on this project to make sure that water is available to every citizens of Bengaluru and also surrounding areas of the Bengaluru city to the fullest extent. And there should not be any reason for non-availability of water for which Bengaluru growth has curtailed. That was the motto of government of Karnataka. That's what they are very keen on that. Now JICA has come forward to loan this project to an extent of 5,000 crores. Their engineers will study our entire DPR, and after that government of Japan will sign the agreement with the government of India, and it will be the most precious project, and it will be much assured project from government of Karnataka to the Bengaluru citizen that sustainability of water is available throughout its development. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you so much for that, sir. Now, my next question is to Professor Rao. And one question that has come up from the audience also, and also as a way forward, with respect to the STPs, decentralized STPs within these apartments. And if you are looking at retrofitting, and retrofitting is challenging or is a difficult option, could you throw some light on what if we have just grey water treatment systems, separate systems for black and grey, and what would be the benefits or positives of that?
Yeah, good question actually. So for all greenfield projects or even for retrofitting projects, IISc has developed, actually one of them, our technology has also been adopted in Good Earth. So if you go see Good Earth, we have given a technology where we separate grey water and black water and treat them individually. Okay, so in your household, 20% is only black water. So the black water is the water which is coming in from your toilets and your urinals. The rest of it is coming in from your kitchens or your laundry or your from bathrooms. That's grey water. Okay, so if you treat them separately, the cost of treatment drops significantly. You don't have to treat them together. Because we were mixing them together, so we mix 20% of this stream which has got all these pathogens and also shit and urine with it. Now you are going to dilute it and then treat it. So the cost will go up, and also this problem of acceptance of reuse will also become a question. So because psychologically we are thinking, I'm now reusing the water which has gone through my toilet, right? So that's also a psychological barrier. There are technologies which can separate. You don't have to separate them as well, because your pipelines which are connecting your urinals and toilets, they are a 4-inch pipeline or a 6-inch pipeline. They are big pipelines, whereas all other pipelines are 1-inch pipeline or a 3/4 of an inch pipeline. So anyway, you are collecting them separately. They are coming down into your basement. That's where typically your wastewater treatment plant is. But at the inlet, you mix it. Why do you have to do that? You don't have to do that. You can separately treat it. This 20% of the water, don't have to disinfect under subsurface irrigation. You can send it after removing BOD, COD. Okay, whereas the remaining 80% that you have, you treat it to an extent where you can reuse. Then you don't have this problem of swelling of water, yellow color of water that was mentioned few minutes ago. So all of that goes away. So there are technologies which can separately treat it, and your treatment cost will come down significantly. So for small STPs, your treatment cost can be anywhere between 20 to 30 rupees per KL. So if you operate it very well. There were a lot of questions on, we don't have skilled operators to do that. I agree. I have also seen many apartment complexes. I have visited last summer, and this summer also, I'm sure many people will call to troubleshoot their problem. But there are courses available to upgrade yourself to treat STPs. You don't have to measure everything. You talked about measuring high fundu parameters. You don't have to do that. Just look at color. We know whether it is working or not. So there has to be some training. There are courses available. I'm sure EMPRI might have some courses. IISc also has some courses on upgrading the manpower for these things. And if you maintain it very well, the problems I've seen when I went there, apartment complexes, as what he was saying, they're all inherited to them. When they are undersized, I also feel that because your water treatment, it was designed for an XMLD, but now you are using YMLD, which is greater than your XMLD, so it doesn't treat very well. They don't know how to operate it as well. So there is a complex problem, because by the time apartments gets completely occupied, the builder has passed on and has given off his responsibility to this association who don't know what to do, and there are no experts of operating it, and now they have inherited this beast which they don't know how to manage. So that's the problem, and they look at it like a white elephant because they are pouring money at it and it is not working. Simple things have to be done to make it work, and it's a biological system. So you need to understand how a biological system works. Unlike your chemical plants where you turn on a button and you see the result in the next 24 hours, it doesn't happen that way with a biological system. So there are experts, consult them, they will come and help you fix the problem. So multiple levels are there. So you need to look at it in a scientific way and solve it. So that's what my suggestion is. So for greenfield projects, all apartment complexes definitely look at separating gray water and black water and treat them separately and reuse them separately. So your treatment cost will come down. So we did a plant that was 110 apartment complexes. That was then, I think it was less than, it was close to about 10 or 12 rupees per KL. That's how much was the treatment cost. Okay, so you buy water at 100 rupees per KL if you buy from tankers. Now it is 10 rupees, 12 rupees per KL. If you mix it, then your treatment cost will go up, and then you also have issues of reusing it. So yeah.
Thank you. Thanks so much. My next question or request for a reflection is both from Vishwanath sir and also from Professor Rao, you too. Now, there are, with the present policy, it's like 120 units, you need to have an STP, right? And there are issues with how it's being operated and managed, and the treated water quality issues and all of that is there. Now, going forward, there are two pathways. One, we bring in more innovation, improve these systems, have more localized reuse. Or the other way is you have the centralized networks capacity increased, and ultimately it gets connected to these centralized networks. But then the question of localized reuse, what happens over there? If both of you could share a few thoughts on that. First, Vishwanath sir, if you could start.
So here's the thing with centralization and decentralization. Already the BWSSB has 34 wastewater treatment plants, and once all of their treatment plants will be there, there'll be more than 62 of them, or 78. So the BWSSB is already decentralizing. Its treatment plants are now smaller in scale than the old 400 MLD, 250 MLD. They've all come down, right? And I was just discussing with Dr. Rajiv, the cost of treatment in their 60 MLD treatment plant in V Valley, which actually includes disc filter, we did a recent calculation, is 7 rupee 83 paisa per kiloliter. You can't beat economies of scale and the professionalism of running a wastewater treatment plant. You can't expect it in an association. You can expect it with the BWSSB because they have the monies, the technology, and the skill set and the capacity to be able to do it. So for me, when you say 120 KLD, remember that 120 KLD rule is only in areas where there's already BWSSB infrastructure. But if there is no BWSSB infrastructure, it's mandatory for a set of 20 flats and above,
20
right?
units. 20 units.
Yeah, so it's even smaller than that. So 120 is a misnomer. 120 is where BWSSB lines are running. And for me, for the life of me, it beats me as to why associations should be running a sewage treatment plant when the BWSSB lines are running next to it. And the BWSSB is perfectly capable of designing and running wastewater treatment plants and then reusing the water absolutely well, right? So the law itself, for me, if you ask my personal opinion, is a sub-optimized, shall I dare say the word stupid law. That's what it is. So as things go along, as we develop, we should develop sewage. We should work on watersheds, sewage sheds, and aquifer sheds. These three sheds simultaneously. The BWSSB's greatest difficulty is finding land for setting up an STP. Now, if you are able to identify 5% of every lake adjacent to the lake, 5%, and if we get the NGT approval, then the location of the STP is done. The lake's water quality will be maintained and filled by the BWSSB. Groundwater levels will come up, and the apartments will have good enough groundwater for them to use in addition to the BWSSB water, and tanker water suppliers will have that water. Take the example of Dodbamsandra Lake, which is in the north of Bangalore. The BEL has set up a 10 MLD STP, wastewater treatment plant, with their own CSR fund. They take a portion of the wastewater, the rest of it fills the lake. The groundwater table is so high that the tankers have absolutely no problem in selling the water at 500 rupees a load, right? So it's possible to make water cheap if you think decentralization for the BWSSB. Now, for the apartments, I would argue that it should be a matter of choice. If you want to do it, if you have excellent capabilities, you're confident, and the builder has given you a great STP, and you have the capabilities of dual plumbing and reuse, by all means, that choice should be there. But to force it on them is, in my opinion, not the right way to move. And I think the BF should be in dialogue with the BWSSB and the PCB to arrive at a not so forced weaponization of STPs that has now happened in Bangalore city, which we glorify. But remember, it's such a health hazard. If it doesn't function, if the raw sewage is being let out, now there's a potential that 4,600 raw sewage outlets will be letting out wastewater everywhere, right? So that's the risk that there is. So we should weigh it carefully, not to discourage those who run wastewater treatment plants and are decentralized wastewater treatment plants, because some of them were threatening to change their livelihood and move on to agriculture because one mentioned this particular idea. But to work together to make things which are realistic, possible, and cost effective and good for the city, right? So that's the way we should go.
Yeah. What he has answered the question.
No, if you have any reflections on that, otherwise it's
No,
fine.
a couple of problems when I was discussing with BWSSB people. Apartment complexes, if they can treat it very well, as what Vishwanath was saying, I think you should treat it and reuse it locally. That makes sense. What doesn't make sense is, letting it out untreated. That definitely is not a good thing to do, because that will go and contaminate your surface water bodies, and then eventually you're contaminating many more things. Then after treatment, you connect it to your UGD network, or partial treatment, you connect it to your UGD network. That's even worse, because your water coming into your STP will have a very low food to microorganism ratio. Your sewage is diluted, and then they have a problem of not treating it very well. So they're having bigger problems. So they get diluted sewage at the inlet because you are already partially treating it. So that also becomes a problem. So these are the things that you have to look at. Definitely managing an STP, I don't think it's a very complex thing, maybe because it comes naturally to me, but it's not a very complex thing. Read a few things and you should be able to manage it. And then if there are courses available to manage it, it's not a rocket science. It's just a simple system.
More difficult than rocket. Rocket science is easier.
Well, I don't know. It shouldn't be that way, though. That's what I feel. That it's just that. Just go through a simple training and then you should be able to manage it. It's not a complex system. It's a biological system. It's how a cow's stomach would work, or any stomach would work, right? It's a biological system. It's just you're using bacteria to treat it. So there's simple ways of doing it, but if you don't know it, then yeah, it becomes worse than rocket science.
So what I'm hearing from both of you is that it's not that decentralization or what's already there should be completely taken off, but then we need to look at a pathway or think of a mechanism where both of them can go together. If I hope there's agreement on that. Now I want to come to you, Rajesh, and now with the new policy change, as there was a discussion before this also, that the policy change kind of says that, hey, now you're allowed to sell 50% of the treated used water, generated in the apartment outside the fence, which was not allowed before, right? It was illegal. So now the policy change has happened, but you need to make it happen on the ground too, right? So what is the roadmap that BAF is thinking about with respect to this, and what are the different challenges? Who all needs to come together to make it happen?
Sure, thanks for that. Before that, I just want to say, so I think in our BAF system itself, in the previous round, we talked about challenges. So we have set of apartments which are having these challenges managing STPs, but we also have a significant number of them who are managing it well and coming back to us with a question of what to do with the excess water, right? And that's what triggered us. It's a journey of every policy change to actually work with also research institutes to actually put forward the argument that, zero liquid is a misnomer, and then you are supposed to, if you're treating it well, why waste the water, move the conversation forward. So if I focus on really that, pushing that, unfortunately, even though we got an MOU signed with the BWSSB that we're allowed to sell it at 8 rupees per kiloliter, not much traction has happened since, as you rightly pointed out. And some of the things that we are thinking, actually, I think in that case, instead of pilots, I think we have done enough pilots. I think at this point to say, we have to move the conversation from pilots to why is it not scaling? And that's what we're taking. We've done pilots, in fact, including with well labs of parks. We've also have plenty of examples that people have talked about, that you can take the water, treat it to a higher standard, supply to industries, and other things. We're also in conversation with the new GBA, the commissioners, who are the new commercials in place and briefing them on what are the potential local sort of low risk non-contact purposes that we can use for. And very recently, some of these conversations we've been having as part of, some of us have been part of a committee where we've been deliberating together with the DWSSB in terms of what is the way forward. So all of us have figured out, we've done these pilots, but we got to crack how to do this at scale. And that's where we're thinking, okay, let's talk to what are the new possibilities happening. Let's go back to these commissioners. Let's examine what we can do at local grids, at each of these corporations, wherever these apartments are there, where the STPs are well functioning. We can easily figure out, set up systems to ensure STPs function well, in terms of just setting up very simple monitoring systems, either automated or maybe empanel them on a water quality network sort of system. So that can take place. The question is to match the demand and the supply, right? That's what we want to crack. And we've been in conversation, many others, we're still conversing around that. I'm guessing over the next 6 months to a year, we'll get around to cracking that. I know it's not one answer that we have. We'll have to look at a multitude of options. And that's why we want to work even with the BWSSB, wherever possible. Maybe they can take some of this water and treat it to a higher level if they have facilities available. And then, already you have private players that are coming in and offering to connect to industries. I think industries itself are showing interest. The BWSSB itself is supplying a lot of water to KIAL. All of that is treated water that can be reused. So there are all these pilots. I think we just need to focus on how to crack it. I think everybody has to be involved, be it the government, stakeholders, communities, and of course the lakes, and to ensure that even if you release it in the lake, what are the safeguards has been discussed. So all of this has to really come together. That's why it's going to take some time and some amount of maturity to move from this pilot to scaling.
I have 2 points to make on this. I have also visited some apartment complexes where STPs are working very well. So why don't you create a best practice of it and circulate it to other STPs which are working well? So that will also help. Point number 1. Point number 2 is, I think KSPCB came up with a rule that all new construction should use treated wastewater. I think Rajiv's PhD is on treated wastewater for construction. There are so many new constructions coming up with apartments, right? You guys are building so many. I heard a number, some 11,000 some things are coming up. Apartment complexes are coming up in Bangalore. So much construction. So you can use treated wastewater for construction. He has done a full PhD on it, and he has said that it is good. I think there is no problem in using that. So that's a big industry that you can tap for construction. Last but not the least, you can definitely store that water on your on your ground and recharge groundwater. That will improve your groundwater levels at the end of the day, right? So these are things possible. Okay, that's something that you have to go back and look at it, why it is not permitted, because it is treated wastewater. You are doing it in lakes, right? If BWSSB is already treating the wastewater and filling it into lakes, if they can do it, your apartment as a complex, you should also be able to do it. They're doing it because that's what is BWSSB doing at a large scale. So as an apartment complex, you should be able to do it, right? They're doing it at a large scale. They are doing it now. 865 MLD is being recycled to do the groundwater recharge all around Bangalore. Why not do it inside Bangalore in your own campus? That's a logical question to ask, right? So that's the kind of conversation I would have with KSPCB, saying that, look, they are doing it. We will also do the same thing in our own campus. Our groundwater only will improve at the end of the day. We are treating it to the best level. Correct? So I don't know. These are the kind of things that I would talk to. But construction industry is something that I would definitely look at as a potential reuse method.
Yeah, I think the law for construction is already there, and they are mandated whenever they apply for permission that you're not supposed to dig bore wells. They are supposed to use this thing. But I think there are concerns around that. Maybe that we need to also have builders as part of this conversation and see what are their own sense of, maybe there are some perception issues of reusing treated water for their construction where, in terms of their marketing, we really need to also have them as part of this larger conversation and see, what are their concerns and how can we alleviate some of that and take it to the authorities. Yeah.
We did a study also, and it was no problem.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Maybe just one more question to Vishwanath sir, and then we will go over to another flash talk is there are these new ideas like injection wells and hydrofracturing and all of that that's being proposed and talked about a lot, where maybe treated used water can be used for injecting into aquifers. How would you respond to these ideas that are floating around right now?
Unfortunately, we've had a legacy of this injection wells being used by industries to illegally pump in a lot of untreated wastewater. And that has left a scar so that we don't permit direct recharge using treated wastewater any longer. I personally believe that we should still work at rejuvenating lakes, look at indirect recharge, where the earth acts as a good filter. The lake itself acts as a treatment unit. We should focus on that and focus on the reuse of treated wastewater also has three major demands. There is urban industrial demand, there is an agricultural demand, and there's an ecological demand. We should draw a balance between all three. And the best way it will work is when the ecological demand is satisfied, becomes groundwater, and then it is used for industrial, urban, or agricultural demand, where all demands are satisfied. I think perhaps that's the easier and that's the more amenable path right now. We should focus on that. And then perhaps at some later stage, we'll get to injection wells and hydrofracturing and stuff like that, or nuclear, whatever.
Okay, thanks so much for that. Now, before we go over to the final round of reflections, I'd like to invite No Brokerhood for the next 3-minute flash talk.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Namaskara. So, I would say at No Brokerhood, we don't have the technical expertise to comment on a lot of discussions here. But what we do have is a lot of engagement with gated communities. We manage 1,000+ gated communities in Bangalore, right? And we are a platform which digitizes workflows in gated communities, not just entry, exit, but also workflows around communication, discussions, chats, forums, polls, etc. So for this 3-minute flash talk, what we tried to do was look at all of this data from the lens of water and look at ways, these are just perspectives from my side on how we can help in solving this problem, right? So I'll only talk about one of our modules, one of our features, which is IoT-based water sensors, water level sensors or water flow sensors, TDS sensors, etc. So when we look at data, I'll talk about 3 examples. One is around water tankers. Second would be around complaints that we see in gated communities. And third would be around CapEx decisions that communities make. So water tankers, we can measure water tankers through the entry data. What we see is 1 lakh plus entries of water tankers over the past 1 year in communities we manage, which is 300+ entries a day. So water tankers are in a way part of the infrastructure here in Bangalore. And when we talk to communities, the problem they face around water tanker is a problem of trust in terms of the host water for which they are built, right? Communities get billed for the water that they take from tankers, and how an IoT sensor can help there is by measuring the change in water level in the sump, measuring the volume of water that has been actually delivered by the tankers, plus looking at the entry exit logs for when the tanker came in, gone out, and that would help them bill a viable amount to the tanker and build more trust with the vendors, right? So this is one example. Second example is around complaints. We see a lot of complaints around water. 7 out of 10 complaints around water on our platform are around supply, where residents complain about water not reaching their homes. And we see a spike in these complaints from Feb to April, 28% higher complaints compared to rest of the month. We also see that these complaints are spread in certain pockets more around Hoskote, Whitefield, Electronic City, etc., where the bulk of these complaints lie. Here, what we observe is a more of a reactive approach from committees. When the complaint comes in the morning of water not reaching the bathroom, we see facilities working on the valve system, some guard climbing up and checking the level of water in the overhead tank or the sump, and the management committee fielding calls. Here, how our sensor suite can help is to have a preventive alert. Right? If in the night or the previous evening you see the water level going below a threshold, that can generate an alert that can go to management committee members, and that can help them prevent coming to this problem. And of course, based on the trend of help desk complaints, etc., they can also predict when these complaints rise, which part of the year. If they have trends around water consumption, they can see that, water consumption is now growing. I mean, we are coming to a stage where our consumption is growing, so we need to plan. We maybe need to order water tankers in advance, or we need to start measures around saving water. Third element I would say is around capex. We have polls as a feature. We have discussion forums where discussions happen around capex. There are discussions that happen around, for example, should we do a retrofit of the wastewater treatment plant, or should we do a reboring of the borewell? These are the kind of discussions that happen. Should we invest 3.5 lakhs for reboring a borewell? And all of these discussions seem to happen based on feelings, based on subjective information. But if we have data around TDS, around the yield curves of the borewell from sensors, then this decision can be made more rational, right? So primarily from these three examples, what I want to talk about as no brokerhood, what we can offer is first measurement of important parameters around water. Second is visibility. We are very well engaged with residents. We have a resident app. We have a management committee app where all of this data can be made visible. And as someone in the panel said, once it is made visible, it becomes actionable. And to help with the action, we also provide platforms through which communities can poll, residents can discuss with each other and come up with actions which are sustainable and which actually drive change in the long run, right? So that is how I think no brokerhood can help with this problem around water management, reuse, and resilience. On the broad level, what I would see as a value add from no brokerhood overall is we are very well engaged with the last mile, which is the gated communities, with the residents, and with the management committee members. And that is where actually gated communities in a way are a microcosm of the entire city. So that is where actually no brokerhood can help BEST and BAF do better, right? That's all from my side.
Thank you. Thanks so much. So please do visit their stalls outside the venue, and please do engage with them and get more insights on their innovations. And again, to the audience, thank you so much for sharing all the questions. Some of these were already addressed during the discussions that we've had, but I'll, because of the paucity of time, I'll just pose one or two questions that maybe some of you can address. The first one is to Professor Rao. Will the groundwater monitoring dashboard be made available to the public?
I don't know, it's the property of PWC for them to decide. It's not my property. They paid for it, so it's their property.
Hello. Yeah, as sir has told, we have already initiated and almost 2,000 borewells are already in the implementation stage, and because of that we are able to identify 60 wards as on today under stress and other things. We, as soon as possible, within 15 days of time, we will going to put it on the website, all those information which is going to be we have as on today.
Thank you. Another question is, again, this is more of a generic question. We have things like Sanchari Kaveri and Kaveri Stage 5 and all of that. Is this actually having an impact on the private water tanker market? Are the prices coming down, or is there lesser demand for private tankers? This, I think, Rajesh or BWSSB, any Rajiv sir, either of you could answer.
Yeah, definitely surface water is much cheaper than any of the tanker water. Whatever the surface water you are going to get will be in the subsidized rate. Maximum the kiloliter it will be of 30 rupees or 35 rupees, maximum to that extent. Tanker, they will charge 6,000 liters, they will charge around 1,000 rupees as on day. It is why we have initiated Sanchari Kaveri. In Sanchari Kaveri, BWSSB surface water will be supplied as the same cost of the water which is going to be supplied. Only the transportation charge, it is no loss, no profit. It will be, it has to be loaded to the cost of the water tanker. Definitely, the water tanker from BWSSB will be much cheaper than that of that. So that's what we are having, plenty of surface water. You make use of that water, and always BWSSB is having one aim, that it is not only the supply side. We have to always the demand side also we have to look into it. It may be in city level, municipality level, or household level, or in the apartment level. You should have the water audit. How much surface water you have to take, how much water available with you, make use of that water. If you do the balancing of water balancing, if you do, definitely, as sir has told, treated wastewater. Treated wastewater in future after 10 years, it will be sold. Treated wastewater or raw sewage itself will be sold. Rainwater collected from your house will be the highest source of revenue for you in future. It is going to happen because water is the scarcest commodity. Without water, we cannot use. We don't waste water, conserve the water. 135 or 150 is the national standard of LPCD, but we can conserve the water. Even in my house, I am using rainwater, stored water for washing the cars, washing the floors and other things. Even though I am not having STP, but my balancing is like that. Vegetable washed water I am using for plants. I am not using RO water for any of the purpose, filter water only using. So it has to come from individual level to save the water balancing has to be done. It is just like a money. So treat your water, account your water. It may be sewage or it may be rainwater or it may be Kaveri supplied water or the bore water. Use it very preciously. Definitely, then we will definitely will understand the cost of the water. Thank you.
Thank you. Just one final question among the lot. Again, I think this is again to you, Rajiv sir. Will 24/7 water supply become a reality in the city? Will 24/7 water supply?
Every water utility aim is to achieve 24/7, definitely. But the terrain of the Bengaluru city is not like as flat any other city like Mumbai, Chennai, or it is having huge undulations. And for 24/7, the location, strategic location of water tanker or OHD is the major thing. In Bengaluru city, we are having a lot of undulations. Most of the south side, we can able to reach 24/7. Our aim is to reach 24/7 in future, for which our old infrastructure has to be replaced. 24/7 will consisting of water continuously. It is the good practice adopted by developed countries. Water will be supplied to your delivery point at some certain pressures for 24/7. We are going to achieve that, for which huge infrastructure is required. That is, the old pipeline has to be replaced. We are working, sorting out the things, how to do that, and what are all the ways to do that. Once we will get the Kaveri 5th stage fully commissioned, Kaveri 5th stage, not the 6th stage, fully commissioned, we will able to concentrate on 24/7. Definitely, it will be a dream for us also. We are going to achieve in future, but we cannot say at what date. We are having a plan of 2030. We will work towards that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. The rest of the questions, and if there are any additional queries, please do interact with the experts during the tea break time. Now we move over to the final round, final concluding. If any of you have any final thoughts on what could be the short-term or long-term actions that are required for water security in the city?
I mean, I think we talked a lot about actions and great suggestions. Couple of things which I wanted to add is we have communities that are doing well. They should be recognized. There was a Green Star system that the BWSSB sort of introduced, and we've been having conversations with the chairman around what are incentives for communities to do better, right? This will allow those who are doing well to continue to do well because they are getting sort of incentives. It could be the BWSSB tariff or other sorts of mechanisms that reward them. This will allow the rest of the job, I think the BAF network itself will do by really curating these practices and spreading. We also believe a lot of that is happening in peer-to-peer learning. So the more good practices that we share with our network, others come and learn and implement those.
Yeah, I would like to summarize in 3 levels. Individually, what are you guys, what an individual should do to do water conservation and to be water more aware? Then at an apartment complex level, and then as an association as BAF, right? So individually, you should conserve water, guys. If you are using more than 100 LPCD, you are really abusing water. Okay, so start looking at how much water do you consume. Stop using pressurized rain showers every day. A bucket and a mug works best. You don't need more than 1 bucket of water. 1 bucket is also a luxury. Half a bucket is more than enough for your shower daily. Really, you don't need that. The moment you stand and start sinking below a rain, you don't know what is going on. So, a 1 minute shower will become 10 minutes and you have wasted so much water. So don't do that. So be conservative about your water. That you will only know, but if you measure it, because you don't know how much you are consuming. I know Vishwanath consumes 0 because he lives only on rainwater. So there are people even in Bangalore who live only on rainwater. They have no BWSSB connection. Even for drinking water, he has systems where he lives on rainwater. Okay, so as an individual, we don't have to go to that extreme. If you can, that would be very nice. But as an individual, definitely you can look at it, conserving water, whether you are in an apartment complex or an individual house. That's one. Second thing is reuse your water. Using fresh water to flush down your toilet is a crime humankind cannot afford anymore. Your shit and urine doesn't care whether you want drinking water quality flushing down to flush it down. It's a mechanical action. So we use high quality water which is supplied to us from BWSSB to flush down our toilets and urine. So that is a crime, I think. So wherever possible, have dual plumbing systems. That's at an apartment complex level. Use your treated wastewater that will be available to you to flush down your toilets. As an apartment level, make sure that you measure things, whether it is groundwater level, groundwater quality, freshwater consumption, whatever it is, measure things and monitor it. As what Vishwanath was also saying, measure the quality of water pre-monsoon, post-monsoon, so you know how the changes of waters are happening. Then as an association, go talk to people like in KHPCB or BWSSB, come up with better ways of reusing your treated wastewater. You should be able to reuse it in a better way, whether it is construction, for your own agriculture around you, or for recharging of your groundwater. So that's a dialogue that you would do. You also have best practices, whether it is rainwater harvesting or STPs. Circulate it and become a community. As a community, you can grow together. I think that's my suggestions. Thank you.
So for all the audience, all of you, my sincere request is, please become our consumers first, pay our bills regularly, okay, so that I can serve you in much better way, okay, and improve my service levels. That is from my side. I will assure that the Bengaluru will definitely get proper water supply throughout. Only in summer season, because of the local power failures, because we have a lot of undulations, we have to pump the water in intermediate level at the local level. If power failure is there, then only the possibility of water supply interruption in the local level. Otherwise, our pumps of all 3 stages are working 24/7. Not even 1 minute also we are not stopping the water supply to Bangalore city. At that level, at that efficiency, we are working. Because exclusive, like sometimes Vidhan Sauda may not get the power, but our TKLE, Tatguni and Arovalli 3 pumping stations are continuously getting the water supply. We are there to pump the water. Even during the COVID period also, you might have seen not even 1 interruption of water treatment, sewage treatment, sewerage service or water service from our side. So dedicated team is there. Help us. Please don't take any illegal connections. Take legal connections. Become our consumers. Pay our bill regularly. Treat your wastewater properly. Don't let the untreated sewage into the stormwater drain or letting it to our drain, our sewerage network. Please use it yourself. It is a precious water. Use yourself. Make the consumption less. Surface water consumption as far as possible. Thank you.
listen to Dr. Rajiv and enjoy your chai.
Thank you so much to the audience and all the experts over here. So together, I think if we come together and work together, both the utility and the RWAs and all the other stakeholders, there's definitely a chance that Bangalore can thrive through the next summer, hopefully. Thank you so much, and please do enjoy your tea outside. Thanks.
A heartfelt thank you to all our distinguished panelists for a truly engaging and a thought-provoking discussion. Your diverse perspectives and practical insights have deepened our understanding of sustainable water management and strengthened our collective commitment toward building a more resilient and water-source Bengaluru. Today's conversation has clearly shown that water security is not the responsibility of one institution alone. It requires collaboration between government, researchers, communities, and citizens. And this dialogue is an important step in that direction. As a small token of our gratitude and appreciation, may I now request representatives from Bengaluru Science and Technology Cluster, Mr. Anantaraman, and Bangalore Apartment Federation President Mr. Satish Malya to kindly come forward and present mementos to our esteemed panelists.
Thank you.
Ms. Gayatri Muralidhar. Mr. Rajesh Ramu.
Thank you.
Professor Lakshmi Narayan.
Thank you. So much.
Dr. Rajiv K.N.
Thank you, sir.
And Mr. Vishwanathan S.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay. I now invite all our dignitaries and panelists to kindly join us at the front for a group photograph. Next. Next. Okay. Before we disperse, we are delighted to share that the next episodes of this public lecture series will be held on March 28th, where we will take up another pressing urban challenge, urban mobility. In a rapidly growing city like Bengaluru, mobility shapes everything from air quality and productivity to equity and quality of life. Yeah. Thank you all once again for being in such an engaged and thoughtful audience. We look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thank you.